So it's a really emotive thing to talk about, collars and harnesses, and everybody's got their own opinion. And my opinion is train your dog to walk on a loose lead. So unless your dog has got an issue with its neck, so say for example it's got a damaged neck or it's had an operation, there's no need to put anything on your dog other than a flat collar or half check. I tend to use an ordinary little nylon collar on puppies just because I grow out of them so quick. So I get a cheap clip collar, really light. I don't worry about leather collars or anything when they're young. Oh, that's my alarm going off. Just to remind me to go live. No, Dante. So I get these really little clip to collar, the little plastic clip collars, because I'm not expecting a puppy to pull. And then what I do is I spend ages and ages and ages training my puppy to walk on a loose lead, and we don't go anywhere at all unless the dog's walking on a loose lead, puppy's walking on a loose lead. There's no need to put a puppy in a harness. So why don't, that's enough Dante, go on your bed. Why don't I like harnesses on puppies? Well, it's an unnatural thing for them to put on, There's no need to put one on. All you're doing is teaching your puppy to pull, because they'll drop their weight into it. And dogs are very much into pressure animals, and all you have to do is, if you just put your hand on your dog and very slowly increase the pressure against them, you'll find your dog will lean back against you. And so this is what can happen with harnesses. You put a harness on and it should be a snug fit, it shouldn't be loose and dangly. So as soon as you put anything snug on a dog, they will look to lean into it. And the other thing is, even without any pressure at all from the lead, the harness will impede the shoulder action. And so what you want is, when your dog's moving, let me put it in front of my black top and then you can see, they should be moving like this, and when you put the harness on them, they move like that. So it really impedes the shoulder action, because with we have a collarbone, and dogs kind of have this tiny inconsequential little piece of bone there, and so when they move, our collarbone keeps our shoulder back, but when the dog, they haven't got it, so the whole shoulder action moves, not just not just a little bit, and harnesses can really impede that. Even a lot of the lovely fluffy purple and pink ones that are Y, depending on if they're not fitted correctly, and have to be fitted really carefully, and especially with a young dog, you have to be monitoring them for when the dog's growing, or if the muscle changes, that can impede the action. And so I'm not interested in using any piece of equipment that will have a negative impact on my dog's anatomy. And a harness does. That's even with no pressure on it, a harness will have an impact on the dog's gait. So I don't use harnesses. If the dog, if you have an older dog, and it's pulling, then there's a couple of things you can use. You can use a half check, but you wouldn't let the dog pull on it. You would have to use it as a corrective piece of equipment. And so you would have the 2D rings, so they didn't come together. They would either be 2 fingers or 3 fingers, depending on the size of your dog's neck. So when you pull the chain, it's called a martingale as well. When you pull the martingale chain, you should have 2 fingers between the D. They shouldn't touch. And that way, if your dog gets too far ahead, you can give a little correction on the lead and it'll bring the dog back. So I'm a great believer in using equipment in the way that equipment is meant to be used. So if you've got a slip lead, I wouldn't convert that to a head collar. I would get a head collar, but again, they've got their issues, and that's another story for another day, but not for this set of live videos. So yeah, a short answer, I suppose, is a head collar. Oh my goodness, is a regular flat collar always on a puppy. There's no reason to do anything other than put a flat collar on your dog, unless your dog has got a neck issue. People say to me, my dog pulls on a collar on a collar and lead, so I'm going to put it on a harness. That's not going to stop the dog from pulling, and it's not going to prevent damage to the dog. It's just going to cause damage in different parts of the dog's body. So if your dog's leaning against the collar, yeah, that's going to impact its neck, possibly its hind end. If your dog pulls on a harness, it's going to impact its ribs, it's going to impact the shoulder girdle and the hips and the knees, the hips and the stifle. So, you know, you're just exchanging one issue for another, and so all you can really do is put a lot of time in and a lot of effort into training your dog to walk on a loose lead, and just be really consistent and be really insistent. And if you have to walk up and down the street, then you do that, and you think, oh well, I've spent 20 minutes teaching my dog how to walk on a loose lead, that's this 20-minute walk or half an hour. But you know, we have to be really consistent and really insistent, because in the dog's world, if there's a 1 in 20 chance that they're getting what it wants, then it'll do it 30 times, you know, because that's what they do. If a dog went hunting and it didn't get its dinner, it's not going to give up. It's going to try harder next time, and it's going to keep trying until it gets what it wants. And so we have to be like massively consistent and insistent that the dog walks on a loose lead. And it's a drag, and it's one of the worst things to do. I get great pleasure on taking hold of a dog that's like 3 or 4 and has pulled all of its life, and then I get it walk on a loose lead. That's fantastic. But we just have to do it. We just have to, what's the saying, you just have to suck it up and train your dog to walk on a loose lead, is kind of my attitude. So hope that helps, but probably not, because I probably told you the answer that you didn't want. But there you go, that's my answer. Always a collar over a harness. Always. And if you go on to slip lead, your dog still needs a collar and a tag, because it's the law. Your dog needs a collar and tag on, unless it's actually out in the field working, and then you can take the collar off. But as soon as it's finished working for the day, the collar has to go back on. So